Thanksgiving, a time of turkey, family gatherings, and of course, endless football games. But did you know that some of the traditions we associate with Thanksgiving today weren't even part of the original celebration? Or that it took years of advocacy by one determined woman to make Thanksgiving a national holiday? Today, we're diving deep into the untold history of Thanksgiving, covering the top 10 most fascinating facts about this holiday and the interesting details behind them. Let's start with what was actually served at the first Thanksgiving in 1621. Contrary to popular belief, turkey wasn't the star of the show. Instead, the menu featured venison, duck, goose, and shellfish like lobster and clams. Imagine your Thanksgiving feast looking more like a surf and turf dinner than a table full of stuffing and cranberry sauce. And here's a fun bonus fact. While potatoes and sweet corn are classic Thanksgiving sides now, they weren't around back then either. Potatoes hadn't yet become a staple crop in North America, and the corn they would have used was not the sweet corn we enjoy today, but rather a harder, starchy corn that was ground up to make bread. Thanksgiving as a national celebration wasn't always a thing. In fact, it wasn't even a yearly holiday at first. In 1789, President George Washington declared November 26th a day of public Thanksgiving to celebrate the end of the Revolutionary War and the birth of a new nation. But after that, Thanksgiving days were only occasionally declared and usually on a state level. It wasn't until 1863 during the Civil War that Thanksgiving became a nationally recognized holiday. And who pushed for that? Well, that leads us right to our next fact. Now, meet Sarah Josepha Hale. You may know her as the author of Mary Had a Little Lamb, but she's also known as the mother of Thanksgiving. Hale spent a whopping 17 years campaigning to make Thanksgiving a national holiday. She believed it could bring Americans together, especially during the Civil War. Hale wrote letters to 5 different presidents, but it wasn't until she convinced President Abraham Lincoln that she saw her dream become a reality. Hale even published Thanksgiving recipes in her magazine, Godey's Lady's Book, which helped popularize dishes we associate with the holiday today, like roast turkey and pumpkin pie. Her vision of Thanksgiving wasn't just about the feast. It was about unity, reflection, and gratitude. And here's an interesting twist. Early Thanksgiving celebrations in the United States weren't always in November. Instead, they were often celebrated in late October, marking the end of the harvest season. Sound familiar? That's actually when Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving to this day. The timing of Thanksgiving as we know it today was partly set by tradition, but also influenced by politics and convenience, especially when we get to FDR's changes later on. Fast forward to 1939, and President Franklin D. Roosevelt makes a controversial move. Hoping to help the economy during the Great Depression, FDR decided to move Thanksgiving up by a week to extend the holiday shopping season. Retailers supported it, but the change wasn't popular with everyone. In fact, some states refused to recognize it, and people started calling it Franksgiving. After 2 years of confusion, Congress stepped in and officially established the 4th Thursday of November as Thanksgiving Day in 1941. Today it seems obvious, but back then it was a big debate. Today we can't imagine Thanksgiving without the Macys Thanksgiving Day Parade. But it looked a bit different in 1924 when it first started. Instead of the huge balloons we see now, the parade featured live animals from the Central Park Zoo. Can you imagine walking down the streets of New York City and seeing lions, bears, and camels? By 1927, the iconic balloons made their debut. The first balloon? Felix the cat. And get this. In the early days, they didn't deflate the balloons. They just let them float away. Macy's offered rewards for returning them, but many balloons ended up lost, stuck in trees, or deflated in surprising places around the city. Thanksgiving football is a tradition as American as apple pie, and it dates back to 1876 with Yale and Princeton battling it out. The NFL got in on the action in 1920, and the Detroit Lions made Thanksgiving games an annual event in 1934. It's a tradition that's evolved over the years and is now a key part of Thanksgiving for millions of fans. Another quirky tradition, the presidential turkey pardon. This tradition began unofficially when Abraham Lincoln's son Tad begged his father to spare a turkey that was supposed to be Christmas dinner. But it wasn't until 1989 that President George H.W. Bush made it an official ceremony. Let's talk about some Thanksgiving classics: cranberry sauce and pumpkin pie. These dishes weren't at the first Thanksgiving because the early settlers didn't have sugar for cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie was more likely a spiced boiled pumpkin rather than the pie we know today. The evolution of Thanksgiving food reflects how the holiday has changed to fit American tastes, with sweet and savory treats that have become inseparable from the celebration. Lastly, let's recognize the deep history and traditions of the Native American tribes. For many tribes, like the Wampanoag, Thanksgiving wasn't a one-time celebration. It was part of a long tradition of giving thanks for the harvest. This custom of gratitude existed long before settlers arrived on these shores. Thanksgiving is a chance for us to honor those who came before us, and remember that this tradition of gratitude is woven into America's fabric from many different cultures and histories. So there you have it, the surprising, sometimes quirky and inspiring history of Thanksgiving. From wild parades and pardoned turkeys to debates over dates and football rivalries, Thanksgiving has evolved in ways we never imagined. It's a holiday with layers of tradition, history, and a reminder of gratitude. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating history stories. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.